Hello, my name is Katherine Proctor. I am an undergraduate student at Bowling Green State University. I'd like to recognize my mentors for this project, Dr. Ronald C. Scherer and Dr. Catherine Mizell. And this project is titled The Categorization of Vocal Fry in Running Speech. So just a little bit of background on vocal fry. Dr. Harry Holeen did one of the first classic studies on vocal fry, and he says the pulse register occupies the lowest range of phonation along the fundamental frequency continuum. The term was selected because its vibratory pattern is pulse-like, and because these perceived pulses usually have relatively low frequencies. Synonyms for the pulse register undoubtedly include such terms as vocal or glottal fry, creak, and strobos. So what is vocal fry? So Holeen and Kadar have described vocal fry in the past as having a fundamental frequency threshold of around 70 hertz or lower. And then after reviewing some of the literature, Dr. Scherer and I developed our suggested description of vocal fry. The phonatory cycle in vocal fry is characterized by a relatively short duration of glottal open time, followed by a relatively long duration of glottal close time, with a relatively long cycle period. There is typically an acoustic transient due to the fast change in glottal airflow at glottal closing. So then this figure here by Colton and Wu just shows more about the glottal orientation. So with vocal fry here, we have that very short duration of glottal open time and then that longer duration of glottal closed time, especially when compared to falsetto and normal speech. So then this video just further demonstrates the vocal registers. So with vocal fry, the vocal folds are very highly adducted, very short, and then you hear that very low pitch. And then with chest, the vocal folds are less highly adducted and they're significantly longer. So our research questions for this study: what are the different categories of vocal fry based on acoustics and perception? How often do the different types of vocal fry tend to occur? And then where in the syllables do these various types of vocal fry occur? So it's important to note also that not many studies in the past have focused primarily on the categorization of vocal fry. A lot of studies that have looked at vocal fry have examined it in isolated vowels. And we wanted to examine vocal fry in more of a natural setting, so we chose to look at it in running speech. So our participants for the study were 5 college-age females from Bowling Green State University. So each of them recorded the rainbow passage into a microphone in a very natural manner. And these recordings were actually taken from a recent dissertation by Dr. Brittany Perrine. And we analyzed the recordings in Praat. So in order to develop the categorizations, we first identified the vocal fry from sound and then by observing the microphone patterns. From there, we observed the minor differences that we noted in the acoustics, such as different numbers of pulses, different variations in pulse height. And then from there, we began to develop these different categories from the patterns. We also counted the instances of vocal fry, so we marked the location of the vocal fry in the syllables, if it was in the onset, earlier, later, or final portion of the syllable, and then we charted these instances in Excel. So then this is an example of what we looked at throughout the analysis process. So we've overlaid this text grid into Praat in order to make notes, mark the different occurrences of vocal fry, and the location in the syllable. So here the speaker is saying the end of the rainbow and is using vocal fry on the, rain, and bow. So I will play this.
The end of the rainbow. The end of the rainbow. The end of the rainbow.
So you can kind of hear that vocal fry there on that very end of that phrase. So on to our results. So we determined that there were 6 different categories of vocal fry. So first we have single pulse fry, and that's essentially when there's one pulse occurring per period of vocal fry production. And the subcategories for this include even single pulses, when the pulses are relatively evenly spaced out, about the same height, and then uneven single pulses, which is when the pulses are different distances apart or different amplitudes. So we also have this double pulse fry, and essentially what's happening here is there are 2 pulses occurring per period. And we had subcategories for this as well. So we have double pulse with primary, which is when 2 of the pulses are about equal amplitude. Double pulse with primary, where the secondary pulse is of lesser amplitude than the first. And then double pulse with primary, where the first pulse is of lesser amplitude than the second. And then down here we have multiple pulse fry. And essentially that's when there are 3 or more pulses occurring per period. So then we have period doubling, and that's essentially when the period of vocal fry production is about twice as long as the period of normal speech production. We see this kind of down, up pattern, and the pitch is dropping about an octave. And then we have 2 new categories which have not been described in previous literature before. So we have delay fry, and that's when there's this pulse followed by damping and then a period of silence before the next excitation. And in order to qualify for delay fry, we have this period of damping and then silence. The criteria set to be around 20 milliseconds or greater in order to qualify. And then we also have inaudible fry, which is kind of an interesting type. We're not really sure about the implications of this or what this means, but essentially it's vocal fry that you cannot hear, but you can see in the microphone signal these fry-like utterances. So we're kind of trying to figure out more about what that means, and we would definitely like to look into this further. So then out of 174 occurrences of vocal fry in 5 different female subjects, the most common type was single pulse fry with 70.1%, followed by period doubling fry, delayed fry, double pulse and inaudible fry, and then the least common was multiple pulse fry. So we found that vocal fry tends to occur pretty evenly in the onset, earlier, and later portions of the syllables, and it was least common in the final portion of the syllable. So this example here, the speaker is saying one end and is frying on the word end.
One end, one end, one end.
So you can kind of hear the vocal fry there. And we thought it was really interesting to note that many different types of vocal fry can co-occur together in one very short syllable. So in the word end, we have 3 instances of double pulse fry, 3 instances of single pulse fry, and 1 instance of period doubling fry, kind of all occurring together just in that one short syllable. And we thought that was really interesting to note. So then after performing this study, we kind of re-examined the definition of what vocal fry really is. And we found that for women, many instances of vocal fry were simply an octave lower than their normal speech. So for example, if the normal speech for a woman were at 200 hertz, a frequency of 100 hertz may be heard as vocal fry. And that is the case in this particular example. The speaker is saying colors, and you can hear her pitch drop an octave in that second syllable there.
Collars, collars, collars.
So we hope that this study can be used in the future for clinical diagnosis. Some categories were more frequent than others, and also just the existence of these different categories suggests different laryngeal function that's happening. And then, of course, the perceptual significance of vocal fry, the psychosocial consequences that come with using it, and the linguistic association. So in summary, we had these 6 primary categories of vocal fry patterns that we observed. Single pulse fry was by far the most common, and 2 new categories were observed, including delay fry and inaudible fry. And these were based primarily on the inferred laryngeal function. And these categories may help in more specific vocal diagnostics regarding the register of vocal fry. So thank you for listening, and I hope you all are staying safe. Have a great day. Thanks.